Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Mo Money at the movies. Today's movie is The Replacement, starring Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves. This is a great movie, although I just watched it again. I love this movie, but it makes no sense because Keanu Reeves, who plays the quarterback Shane Falco, is a salvage worker on a boat that is his, and his backstory is he used to play for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but in his freshman year he lost the Sugar Bowl, which was a big game for them. But he was a freshman, so he wasn't even supposed to be playing. I think the score was like 45-3, and that's his story. And Gene Hackman plays Coach McGinty, who's a burnout old coach from the '80s, which is a line from the movie. And you know, the the actual players are about to go on strike because they don't like the terms of their current CBA. So the owners get together and decide they're going to finish the season with replacement players, hence the name of the movie. And the owner of the quote unquote Washington Sentinels is about to hire Coach McGinty back because he wants him because he thinks he's the guy that can get Washington to the playoffs when they have to win 3 out of 4 games, which is not an easy task to do, and what I'm guessing is supposed to be the NFL. So Coach McGinty debates the owner a little bit about the job, and he flips a coin and says he'll take the job. He wants total control of the team, obviously, and because he's been fired by this guy before, he decides that he wants it in writing. So he goes out and gets twin brothers to guard Shane Falco, Clifford Franklin to be a wide receiver, and Danny Bateman is a linebacker played by John Favreau before he took over at The Mandalorian and Disney. Star-studded cast, and they did a good job of establishing the professional players as the villains. Villains is a strong word, but the adversaries. Uh, Martell, the starting quarterback for the Sentinels, basically is a douche all the way through this movie. And so when they put the team together, they get off to a rocky start. And there's a situation where they can't do nothing right. And in fact, the auspicious start comes from when Bateman trips over the wire and collides with the cheerleaders to start the game. And then Shane Falco gets hit by his own teammate. They then give away the play, which they can't get nothing right until, and things are going bad until because the former sumo wrestler ate eggs pregame. He throws up on the field, and Clifford Franklin's like, I shouldn't be around somebody puking, or I start puking. And he throws up, and as a team, they go, everybody move left. And Coach McGinty's like, look at it this way. It's the first thing we've done together as a team. And if you want to join the team, hit that subscribe button and join me at the movies. But they start rolling after this and they come all the way back. And there's a point in the first game where Coach McGinty at the very end says, we got to pass. It's got to be in the end zone. And Falco reads blitz. So he checks off the run, hands it to the running back. The running back almost makes it, but he fails. And then Coach McGinty's like, I put the game in your hands and you got scared. And he's like, I read blitz. And McGinty's like, well, winners always want the ball when the game's on the line. And through this whole process, Falco's hitting on the head cheerleader named Annabelle, who is really weird because the cheerleaders are on strike too because they get the rest of the girls from a gentleman's club. But For some reason, the head cheerleaders love to say, I don't get that," but they figure it out. And so she owns a bar as well, and Falco continuously tries to date her as he's being shot down. And they very cleverly show them getting ready to have a passionate kiss. And before the scene ends, you can hear John Madden going, Falco's gonna score, and they immediately flip to the football coverage, and they are down 16 to like 7, and Morris is the defender on the other team is hammering Falco all day as he's become the leader of the franchise. And he's like, let Morris by. And he dugs him in the head, and Bateman like tackles him. For some reason, Bateman's on offense as well. Like I said, this movie makes no sense, but it's so darn enjoyable. It's not even funny. And they catch the ball, and the sumo wrestler catches it, and he says curse words as they're jumping on his back to get in the end zone, and he scores. But going back to the first game, they blew it at the end, and there's a bar fight scene that is started by Martel, and Falco tells everybody that it's cool, and Martel punches him, and Martel is wearing a red shirt, and because Falco was wearing a red shirt in practice and Bateman would tackle him in practice, he told Bateman, red means stop. And then Bateman standing at the end of the bar and he says, remember what I told you about red shirts in practice? He goes, yeah. He says, forget about it. And then they continuously pummel basically the actual football players. But I just thought that was funny because Clifford Franklin, there's a scene where he's hiding behind the jukebox and it's and they're in the jail cell because they got taken in. And they're like, "You're the man tonight, Clifford Franklin." He was hiding behind the jute box, wasn't he? And it just it's a funny scene. You really have to see this movie. So anyway, picking up the story, Clifford Franklin makes the catch in the second game that prevents overtime on a 2-point conversion, and they win the football game. And so this thing goes on where there's a speech where Falco talks about quicksand and they all talk about their normal jobs. And it's really a bonding experience for these guys, which is great as they're still unsure as to how they're all going to get along. And so they go in, then they win 2 out of 3. But Falco's been shaky in that last win. And the owner's like, he calls Coach McGinty back into his house and he tells McGinty that Martell and one of his buddies crossed, and with the deals he made them swallow, he couldn't really not afford to play them. So McGinty now has the unenviable task of telling Falco that he's not gonna start the game. And they have a conversation about it. He's like, Martell's the best, he's got it all. And he says, no, he doesn't have heart, and you do. And then there's a scene where Martell goes in to see Falco in the locker room, and for some reason he gives the villainous speech of "She's too good for you, Shane. You shouldn't be with her. You're dragging her down." Meanwhile, there's been nothing to show that Annabelle, was interested in Martell. He's just kind of an ego trip that way. It makes no sense, but like I said, subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome. And so he tells Martell that he's a class act, and then the team is celebrating because they're 1 win away, but they're playing the world champions, and Martell or Falco rather goes to see them, and he basically tells the Nigel Gruff, the kicker, that he's been cut from the team because Martel crossed. And he says, "When are you going to tell the guys?" And he says, "I don't know. I don't want to ruin the mood." And he says, "No, no, cut it." And then they turn off the music. And he's like, "Good news. You're going to be playing with the best quarterback in the league." And of course, they all cheer. And then he tells them that they've been cut. They do their salute. And it shows Washington versus Dallas. Dallas is up. Dallas just basically pummels them for a half where they get sacked, and there's this sumo wrestler's like, maybe you should try scrambling. And he's like, oh, great, a quick kick because Martell's trying to play, and they're down 17-0 at half. And he's like, nobody can beat Dallas with these losers. And I can because, and he said, Falco says, I can because before the half started, the reporter asked him, he said, what do you need? Miles and miles of heart. That's what he said. And he's like, what took you so long? Traffic, suit up. Because he just finished having an argument with between McGinty and Martell about O'Neal will fire you. And he was like, it won't be the first time. And then there's a melee at the start of the third quarter where the referee looks confused about how many yards it's been. And then, so the guy, the preacher, there's a preacher who's a receiver. And he said to Falco earlier in the movie, all I want to do is score one touchdown before I hang him up, and then I'm done. And he got hurt, but he scored the touchdown that made it 17-7. And then they're like, "Who's gonna run the ball?" And they're like, "Give it to Wilkinson." And he kind of cheekily said he's going to jail, but he's like, "I'll clear the way, John Favreau, plays a great Danny Bateman, by the way." And he gets like 20 yards, and of course they get the touchdown to go to 17-14, and they drive the ball all the way down. And then Nigel, who's the kicker, got himself in trouble with some unsavory people and is about to lose his pub if he doesn't blow the kick. So Shane hikes the ball. He then pulls the football on Nigel, so Nigel breaks his arm, scores a touchdown, but there's a flag on the play. And then he said, I know you're hurt, I know you're tired, but pain heals, chicks dig scars, and hitting that like button helps the channel. But Falco then said, besides me, who wants the ball? And of course, it's Brian Murphy, his receiver, who's deaf. So he signs, and he gives it's been an honor to share the field of battle with you. And they throw the game-winning touchdown, and then there's a voiceover provided by Gene Hackman about how there's nothing special for them to do but go home, but they're a part of greatness. And that's how the movie ends. So until next time, may your ego come from a place that keeps you humble. I'm Mo Money. Mamba out.